If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims. Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with my colleague and friend, Stephanie James. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Carissa. So happy to be here with you.
Yes, I just love your energy, and it's always amazing to connect with you and see what exciting things are happening in your life. So let me share a little bit about Stephanie. Stephanie James stands at the intersection of personal transformation and spiritual wisdom, weaving together her roles as a transformation coach, psychotherapist, international speaker, filmmaker, and pioneering podcast host. And I'll also say author, with an innate ability to illuminate the path to authentic self-expression. She has become a trusted voice in the global consciousness movement. As the creator and host of Igniting the Spark with Stephanie James, which I have been on. Thank you for having me on. Yes, you can catch my episode there. She engages in profound dialogues with the most influential thought leaders, scientists, and spiritual teachers. Her weekly podcast, syndicated worldwide, serves as a beacon for those seeking deeper understanding of psychology, spirituality, and human potential. Through these conversations, Stephanie creates a unique bridge between cutting-edge research and practical wisdom, making transformative insights accessible to audiences worldwide. Her compelling documentary, you have to see this movie. It's so inspiring. It's called When Sparks Ignite, currently featured on Humanity's Stream Plus, and that's how we met, Stephanie and I. She's a co-host there. Showcases intimate conversations with renowned international changemakers who reveal how life's greatest challenges can become catalysts for profound transformation. And that's so true. And it's like an awakening, really, to watch this movie and look at your own life. The film masterfully illustrates Stephanie's core message that our deepest struggles often contain the seeds of our greatest gifts to the world. Her latest book is Your Big Fat Juicy Life and Everything After, a Love Story. Welcome, Stephanie. So excited to speak with you today.
Oh, thank you, Carissa. So great to speak with you. And I love that you say that this is a love story because it really is. I mean, so often when people see the book, they think, okay, it says it's a book about everything after. So it's life, death, everything after, but it is the love story of our essence and our continued journey.
So what that title, Big Fat Juicy Life, what inspired you to come up with that title? And did you write the title after you wrote the book?
Yes. Yeah. What was interesting is this book came through a conversation that I had with Neil Donald Walsh when he was on my show.
And he endorsed your book as well.
Yes.
He wrote a testimonial. Oh my gosh, what an honor. Isn't that an honor?
It was such a joy, and when I had him on the show and we got online, I mean, much like when you and I get together, before the interview, he and I just had this heart-to-heart conversation. There was just so much resonance. We couldn't even get to the interview for half an hour.
Just like us. We're
just like us.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, and it's so wonderful. I have this on video, this moment where you see him just get this download. And he stops the conversation and he says, Stephanie, you're going to write your next book and you're going to start tomorrow morning. And the original name of the book, he said, the name of the book's going to be I'm Dying to Tell You About Death. And it's going to have a global impact. And I'm going to endorse the book. And so that was the original title. And then as you know, my amazing agent, Lisa Hagen, was taking it to all of these different publishing houses that were interested, nobody liked the title. They said, right now there's so much going on in the world. Nobody wants to read a book about death. And although this is not a book at all about death, it's really the book about our eternal lives. And so Lisa and I had a meeting, and she's like, I think we need to change the title. And almost joking, when she said, she goes, I think it's got to be something that appeals to people like 25 to 90. And so it just popped into my head. I said, okay, well, we'll just have it be Your Big Fat Juicy Life and Everything After. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's it.
And,
That's
and
it.
and then when you changed it, did you bring it to the publishers again?
We decided at that point that we were going to have Lisa Hagen Books publish the book.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a hybrid self-publishing with a publisher.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't self-publish with her, but she has just been the most incredible publisher to work with. They designed the cover. I did not anticipate having a picture of myself on it at all. And at first I was like, nope, no, I don't think so. And they're like, well, this really embraces what the book's about. It's a spiritual, sacred journey of embracing both life and death and moving out of that fear of death with the actualization that death is not the end for us. It's not the final chapter. It's just the next chapter in our book of eternity.
Mm. So, did you begin writing after Neil Donald Walsh says you will start tomorrow?
Yeah. When
Did you listen?
oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, I think that's been a big thing in my life. Like when the call shows up, I answer. And Carissa, I showed up the next morning, and my first two books took 9 months each. It was like gestating a baby, like a pregnancy.
Yeah.
And this book was downloaded in a little under 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then the miracle as well was within that 6 weeks, the people that just started coming out of the woodwork to be a part of it. Wayne Dyer's wife, Marceline, and his daughter, Sage,
Oh.
I interviewed them, and their stories are in the book. And Stephen Simon, who's the Academy Award winning producer of What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams and Cuba Gooding Jr., and Ariel Ford, a past interview I had with Mark Nepo. I mean, all these incredible voices. Suzanne Giesman, we had a beautiful interview, and
Oh, she would be such an incredible expert.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And that's the thing that was so joyful in sharing, their stories and then stories of other beautiful people that I know. Friends and past clients that just all these people that gave permission to share their incredible stories, which lend itself to this evidence and proof that this 3D world we're in is just not all that there is. We signed up for this experience, and so how wonderful. And it can inform us in this moment to really make this moment sacred. And it actually becomes more sacred when we're not living in fear, when we let go. Because so many people, I mean, the number one fear is death. And so, what if we could start befriending that experience and saying, yes, of course, there's going to be grief. I mean, there's an entire chapter on growing through grief. This is not about having a spiritual bypass or not having your feelings. It's literally embracing the whole journey, but the essential piece moving from from fear into love, because it's in this present moment that we can experience that depth of love that only comes when we're not living in the past or the future, but are here for this sacred moment.
Mm. Okay, since you said the word sacred, I have to segue into an event that Stephanie James is hosting. She is the main host, and she's hosting with Steve Farrell, the CEO of Humanities Team, Sacred Awakening Live in Fort Collins, Colorado. We're so honored to have you there. And Suzanne Giesman is going to be there in person. So it's like a lot of these people that have been supporting you. Neil Donald Walsh will also be live virtual, and so many other incredible teachers about this topic. It's like a synchronicity or something. It's amazing.
It is. I am so honored to be a part of that event. I am so excited for just the amazing alchemy that happens when you have a live experience like this.
Hmm.
And people have really an immersion experience because it's going to be the 8th, 9th, and 10th of May. So it is literally this 3-day immersion where people not only listen, they're experiencing these speakers. They're participating. And so then it becomes an embodied experience. And then each person then becomes the light bearer, because I think there's really an important message that we're all the same height. We all are those essential threads in the tapestry of humanity. So each one of us really matters. So I love it. To me, it's just that wonderful. It's like something gets sparked and then it just radiates out. And each person brings it to their home, their family, their community, their friends. And I think that's how we make this incredible positive change in the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. And will you have your book there? Will you be able to do book signings or will you be too busy?
I I am
Because I know you're
absolutely.
hosting, but let's just get real. Are you going to have your book there for sale and will you be available for signing?
Yes, both of those are a yes.
Okay.
I am blessed to have some family members
Oh,
and
great.
my daughter who is Acacia, who's in the book, and they are going to be helping volunteer, doing registration and some things like that. So I know they'll be manning the book table, and when I have breaks, I'm definitely going to be there signing books and chatting with people. It's one of my favorite things is just
Oh
then
my gosh.
hearing other people's stories as well.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just so exciting because when I started interviewing you today, I wasn't thinking we were going to talk about Sacred Awakening Live. This is supposed to be about you, but you just happened to be talking about sacred and the moment. And so
I
here we
love
are.
it. No, I love it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so hopefully some of you listening might be inspired and learn more. I'll put a link in the show notes because we do have limited scholarships available. So I want to talk about your book launch. So what is the process of a book launch and how did that go? You had it just this week, right?
Yeah, yeah. The 15th was the big book launch.
Okay.
And so, I mean, there was just so much buildup to it. Lots of interviews, lots of social media stuff. I felt like, I have a full private practice. So I was balancing that in between being interviewed and responding to emails and making sure I was communicating with my agent. Um, and so, what was so beautiful is I had a dozen of my friends here in Santa Fe, and then family and friends from Fort Collins and Canada and Arizona all on a Zoom call with us. So it was I cannot even tell you, Chris. I feel like since I've moved here about 6 weeks ago, I wake up in the biggest state of gratitude and I go to bed in that same state where it is so profound. I feel like my cells are vibrating with it. It's just been incredible. So to share that moment with friends and family all together, I was just in an ecstatic state of beingness. And so it's just been so much joy bringing this book that is so dear to my heart um, out into the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you said you just moved there 6 weeks ago. What prompted you to move when you have, may I dare say, crazy, chaotic? juicy life going on with your book launch and Sacred Awakening Live and your clients, a full client roster. What prompted this in your life?
Yeah. So it's very interesting because what I tell people, Carissa, is it was not a decision, it was a directive. It was a
Oh,
directive. And I had not received a directive like this in 32 years. So I have to share the little story that goes before this because it is why I responded so like 100% to this call. And 32 years ago, I was working in Denver, Colorado on the adolescent psych unit. I was a single mom and I was up in Vail, Colorado, skiing with actually 14 of my girlfriends. I had friends from college, even some friends from high school, and then the women that were my really good friends in Denver, women I worked with. And so we were all there having this huge weekend, and just having fun, skiing the slopes during the day. And we'd ride the gondola to the top of the mountain and have margaritas at night and just having a blast. But Saturday night before we left, I was in washing my face and brushing my teeth. And then I just got the hit. And it was just like, you need to leave Denver. You need to move back to Fort Collins. And it was really clear. And it was so profound that I just had tears coming out of my eyes. And I was, getting ready to go to bed. And my friend I was sharing the room with, she said, "What's going on?" And I said, "I don't know, but this is so strong. Like, I am going to act on it." And she was like, "Why in the world? You are the only one." I hadn't been to grad school at the time. So
okay.
she's like, "You're the only one that's non-mastered level on the therapy team. You work with four of your best girlfriends. Why would you want to leave?" And I said, "I cannot tell you. All I can say is it's that strong." Now, the next
Wow.
day,
That's
I will,
pretty powerful to follow guidance because people could have these messages and then not follow it.
oh, 100%. And again, it was so profound and so clear. The next morning when I woke up, and I always tell people, I'm like, I am not a person that remembers dates, but I will always remember this one because my lease was up February 1st. And this was January 14th, was Sunday. And I called my mom who lived in Fort Collins and I said, "Mom, I'm moving back to Fort Collins. I need to move back." I told her about what happened and I said, "I don't have a job. I don't have a place to live, but I know I need to come home." And she said, "Well, this is interesting because our renter let us know he's not renewing his lease February 1st. And so you have a place to live." So the next day I went to work. I gave my 2 weeks notice, packed up my daughter and I, all our things, moved to Fort Collins. Within a few days, I had a job working at Foothills Gateway. And
Oh
actually
my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
like a few days.
one of my favorite aunts worked there with me. So that was a joy. But Carissa, the biggest thing was 3 weeks to the day that I moved back home, the adolescent unit that I worked at closed and was never to reopen. And all my girlfriends were laid off. And I received this phone call. And unbeknownst to us, we had scouts that were going out. I mean, the front page of the Rocky Mountain newspaper said psychiatric abuses charged.
Oh,
And so we had these scouts that were going out around the nation before managed care, right?
okay.
Finding kids, bringing them into treatment where we would keep them in a lockdown treatment center 7 to 9 months until their insurance ran out. And then those scouts were getting a $5,000 kickback per kid, all totally illegal. And
Wow.
I would have been a single mom, just signed a lease and no job. And it would have just been so phenomenally stressful. And
Yeah.
instead, it was seamless.
Yeah. Wow. That's so
Yes.
close. That is almost scary how
Yes.
close it was.
Yeah.
And
So
how
when
old was your
this,
daughter at the time?
she was 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So when this call came in, this latest,
Oh,
couple
yes. The
months
most
ago,
recent one.
I literally was in the middle of a therapy session and I'm looking at my client. And one of the things that just I feel so beautifully connected to is I can just be absolutely present with my client without stray thoughts. I can really just be present. But all of a sudden, it was just like, boom, you're going to Santa Fe. And it was like time just slowed down. It just got really strange for a minute. And I had to really pull myself back. But the same kind of serendipity started happening, Carissa, right away. Like I called my property manager and said, hey, I'm moving to Santa Fe because my lease went till the end of June. And she said, oh, I am so excited for you. She's like, okay, we'll just consider this your 30 days and I'll send you back your deposit May 10th, or excuse me, March 10th, which she did, which is like unheard of. So
So you
yeah.
weren't living in that house that your mom had anymore. You had
Oh
moved.
gosh, no, no,
Okay.
no, no. That's been, like I said, 32 years ago. I,
Yeah.
didn't live in Colorado for 17 years. And when I moved
Yeah.
back, moved into another home. But
Yeah. Got it.
yeah, yeah. So,
Wow.
but
That's
just really, when that call comes, whether it's a directive where to live or to write a new book, then I want to answer that call.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I remember when we did a reading, I had seen that a move for you, but we didn't have clarity on where. I think it was still like in the ethers. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but you were very clear, Carissa. You said, I just feel like you have a big move. That's what you said. There's a big move in your future. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, there's no way. There's no way because I could not have imagined leaving my family, my friends.
yeah,
My parents are there, my kids, my
yeah.
grandkids.
That's a
I,
lot of family that really probably love you there.
oh, yeah. I mean, we're super connected. And the beautiful thing is we're still connected
Yay.
now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yay. See, even when you move, you can still love from afar.
Absolutely, because time and space are really they're just concepts. They're not even really real. And so I was on the phone with my daughter Haley yesterday, and it was so fun. As she was running errands and doing different things, we were right there, heart to heart. There was no time, no space, no
Mm.
gap. It was just really beautiful.
Well, do you find that similar energy when you're connecting with life after death?
Help me understand that question a little bit.
So, when were you first aware that life continues after death? And then we'll come back to this question.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I speak about it in the book. I mean, I have a very visceral first memory, and I was probably 5 or 6, but because I can remember exactly where I was standing and looking at the multi weave on the carpet and my grandmother's antique dresser that was downstairs. It was like this buffet dresser. And the thoughts that I was having were like, it was like a realization, like, oh, I was never born. I can't remember being born. I was never born. And oh, we never die. We just keep going. Like I was really aware of like, oh, this just keeps happening. This is just this ongoing spark. And
Wow,
then,
that's an awakening.
oh, I mean, it was profound. And
That
I
is
have to
very
tell you,
profound. Yeah.
what has been interesting is also as a little girl, um, I had such an interesting upbringing in that our housekeeper, who would come Tuesdays and Thursdays, this beautiful, beautiful woman, B, she would come, and as she was ironing my dad's shirts, I used to love to sit on the couch. I'd sit on the edge of the couch and talk to her. And she was just this beautiful, large Latina woman who would just like enfold me in her body when she hugged me. I mean, it was just like the most wonderful, warm hugs. And so I would sit there chatting with her, and she would tell me about these past lives that she had had taking care of my mother and Uncle Chuck. And
Wow.
so I just thought that was normal. I thought that's what people that okay. Yes. I mean, I didn't question that. That's just seemed very real. And as I talk about in the book too, and I've never talked about these stories. These are kind of the stories you just tell your closest friends and your family knows. And my family had experienced several of these things with me. But as a little girl, I would have three what I call energy imprints, which were just kind of the energetic outlines of three people that would show up outside my bedroom door night after night. And they didn't come in, they just stand there. And as
Mm.
I talk about in the book, when my daughter Acacia was 10 years old, she went and spent a weekend with my parents. And when she came home, she said, Mom, oh my gosh. She said, I had this thing happen where these three lights, they were like light people appeared at my door. And we were with one of my girlfriends, Janie, at the time. And I said, hold on, Acacia. And I said to Janie, okay, I wonder if this is the same. I always saw two little and one big. And so I said, Acacia, what were they like? And
Yeah.
she's like, there were two little ones and one big one. And
Oh,
we were all just like, I mean, it's like, these are the things you can't make up. It just, so um, I was aware of that. I was aware of my connection with, I don't even want to call it the other side because it's not the other side. I mean,
mhm.
it's like we talk about lifting the veil because it's very thin what's
Yeah.
between us.
Another reality
Yeah.
where they,
Yeah. It's just another
where they
dimension that's
come
happening
through.
right now.
They peek
Yeah.
through the curtains. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what were these beings of light? Do you know?
I honestly don't. My sense is maybe like guardian angels,
Guardian angels.
or yeah. I
Beautiful.
mean, there was really that sense of they were very peaceful, and
Yeah.
there was
And like
nothing
watching over
scary.
you or something.
Yeah, yeah, there
Yeah.
was nothing scary about it. And I have to tell you that the story that I had shared with Neil Donald Walsh, actually, when he and I were having our conversation, and it's one of the stories in the book, has to do with my daughter Acacia. And I always say, if I didn't believe in immortality, I did after this experience. And it was right around that same time after I had just moved back to Fort Collins, and I was 25 and Acacia was 4. I was a really young mom. And I was actually in the tub when the phone rang. And this is back in the days where we didn't have cell phones. We had those huge portable phones, and Acacia brought the phone to me, and I'm talking to my mom in
I
the
have one of
bathtub.
those. I have one of those. My grandma
Yeah.
bought it for me. I don't think I would have bought it myself. But anyway.
Yeah. So I'm in the bathtub, and my mom is telling me that my Aunt Gwen, who had been struggling with breast cancer for 5 years, had just gone in for exploratory surgery, and the cancer had spread through her entire body. And that when they opened her up, they just said, there's nothing we can do. Sewed her back up, and they were giving her about 3 months to live. And so I was crying, and little Acacia toodles back into the bathroom. And I have to tell people, acacia is the Greek word for immortality. It's the tree of life in
Wow.
Africa.
That's so beautiful.
And I had no idea that she was going to be my teacher,
Yeah. Because
and understanding that.
when you first said her name, I was thinking of like Akasha
Mm.
Records, like a derivative of that. So
Oh,
it's great to know the meaning.
yeah,
Acacia.
it's ACACIA.
Yeah.
So little Acacia comes back in, and she sits on the side of the tub, and she's like, "Why are you crying, Mama?" And I said, oh, Mama. I said, oh, Acacia, Mama just doesn't want anyone to die. And she just
Oh.
looks at me and she said, but Mama, we never die. And
Oh.
even though we didn't go to church, you know, or talk about God, really, I said to her, I said, oh, honey, I know we go to heaven. And she just looks at me and shakes her head. And she's like, Mama, there's no heaven. She said,
Oh, really?
she said, when I was a light in the sky with God. And then she pauses and looks at me and she says, do you remember your other mother, Dorothy? Oh my God, my other mother, Dorothy, that was my grandmother that died when I was 13.
Oh, okay.
Acacia never knew her. My grandfather remarried the year after. The only grandmother Acacia knew was Grandma Seal. And what an interesting phrasing, your other mother, Dorothy. And
Yeah.
she
Your other
said,
mother.
Yeah, she said, your other mother, Dorothy, her light was up in the sky with mine. So God put some of her light with my light, and I got to come down
Oh,
and be your daughter.
oh, wow. That is so interesting because when you think about past lives and reincarnation, you think that, I mean, for me, I was under the impression that it was a full soul that came into a new body, like your grandmother's full light would come in, but like a little bit of her light came in. And then so she could be also her unique special self and have your grandmother as well, which is really enlightening.
Yeah, I mean, it is so huge. And when I shared that story with Sage Dyer, she loved it so much because someone had said that, her son, that they had felt like her son was her dad coming in. And I
Yeah,
said, I
like a
said, well,
piece.
what if it was just a part of Wayne's light
Yeah.
that's with your son, and that he also is his own special light? And she was like, oh my God, I love that,
Yeah,
because
because a lot of people don't talk about that. I mean, I haven't heard that very often. And oh my gosh, I hate to give the example of my dog, but I'm going to. My
no,
dog,
do.
I feel the essence of my dog that passed, but I also feel her own essence. Like there's some things that really remind me, like similar habits, similar things that she would do. But then there's other parts of her that are unique. So it really makes sense to me now.
Yeah, and I will share with you, I had that exact same experience with my dog Jules,
Oh, okay.
because I had Jules for 2 years, and out of the blue, for 2 full weeks, I could not call her name. I kept calling her Ginger,
Oh my
which
God.
was my old dog from, like, that dog died like 15 years ago. And I was like, and it wasn't like I got Jules and immediately started calling her Ginger. It was like I became aware, like, oh, interesting. And I really was clear that, oh, some of Ginger's light is in Jules.
Oh
And
my
Jules is
God.
absolutely her own sweet, silly soul, but it was just like, I love that. I love that because, if we talk about all being one, if we're all this one body, and then we're each, as we come to earth, we're one of the trillions of cells that make up that universal body. Well, doesn't it make sense that we're all truly then part of one another, and it just
Yeah.
takes all these different lights, all these different forms?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let me see if I can tie this back into moving away from our family. So with death, I feel like they're still there, just in another reality. And I know it's not the same, but to me, sometimes the energy feels the same. Like you can call them, like you can call them on the phone, or you can connect with people on the other side, anytime you want, and just call their name and connect with their essence. So I think that's what I meant when I was
Yes.
saying, oh, it's similar to someone passing. Of course, the depth of the 3D world is not as present, of course, so like the grief, the sadness because they're still alive. But I just was having that connection.
Yeah. Thank you, Carissa. I do love that. I love that because I think that's right. I feel like my relationship with my father actually really improved after he passed.
Oh, beautiful.
We'd
You
been
had a healing.
estranged. Yeah, we'd been estranged for 6 years. Um, and so, and I was so devastated and so sad, when he passed. And
Did you get to be with
interestingly,
him or heal? No, nothing because
no,
you were
no.
estranged. Okay.
Yeah. And so, and I write about this in the book for sure because it's been such a huge piece for me. And when I knew he was dying, he was in a coma, and he had had a stroke and he was dying. um I started dreaming about him. And for 12 nights in a row, I had dreams about being with my dad during while he was still living and then right after he passed. And I always say they were such benign dreams. They weren't these big, messages about the meaning of life or anything like that. Some of the dreams we were just sitting there playing cribbage together. He had taught me
Mm.
cribbage as a young girl.
Oh,
And
wow.
even though dad and I had not resolved our relationship in the 3D world, I had resolved it within my own heart. I had detached with love from he and my stepmother, from just a lifetime of pain since I was about 16 with them.
Oh,
And yeah, so I had finally gotten to that place where it's like, I'm going to detach with love and thank them for everything they've given me, but I'm not going to continue to be a part of this super unhealthy dynamic. And
good for
so,
you.
yeah,
That
yeah,
must have been, sometimes it's really challenging, even though someone is unhealthy, when they're a relative, to detach from them.
yeah. And my old partner, my ex-partner would always say, if people didn't know, they would think that you and your dad have the most wonderful relationship because you speak of him so highly while he was living, because
Mm,
I was so at peace with where I was with him.
yeah.
So, but here's what's interesting. Once he passed, I mean, the electronics in my house started going nuts. And
Oh, can you explain that a little bit? Because
yeah,
for people who may not realize that that could be a message from the other side. So let's get into that. Yeah.
yes, yeah. I mean, and oftentimes I've heard this, hundreds of times. And the interesting thing is when people are polled, 73% of people polled say, yes, I've had some kind of experience with someone that's passed, whether they saw them, heard them, got, energetic things like this. And people are so afraid to chat about it. And that's one of the reasons that this book I felt like was really timely and important too, because I think we need to start opening up these conversations so we can let go of that fear. So
Mm.
sometimes
Yeah. The
when our
fear
loved,
of like judgment or,
yeah,
like you're going crazy,
yeah, you're not going
seeing
crazy.
things,
No, no,
imagining things.
no. And, it helps us too to let go of our fear of death as being like this final ending.
Hmm.
It because there's proof that it's not. And so in my house, what started happening, my partner and I were just like, holy cow. Not only would lights flicker, but pretty soon things started happening. We had all new appliances in our kitchen. But what started happening is all of a sudden the clock would be completely reset, the
Hmm.
date would be reset, and all of a sudden the dishwasher would turn on. Like out of the blue.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yes.
like more than a message. That sounds like a spirit is present there.
Oh, 100% because I mean it was more than
That's a
that.
little
I
intense. That's
it was
intense.
it was. I mean so much so that I would get into my car and my electric seat would be all the way back. And I would say to my partner, "Were you in my car this morning?" This is like the first week after dad passed and he's like, "No, why would I take your
Oh,
car?"
yeah.
And when it happened twice in one day, we were like, "Okay." So I share this with you too, because as we were speaking just a little bit ago about Suzanne Giesman,
Yeah.
um, when I was interviewing her on my show, before I interviewed her, I was listening to her book. So I would go take walks and walk my dogs and listen to her book. Um, and as I'm listening to her book, she was saying something about just what you said, Carissa, that you can reach out and say to your loved one, I really need a sign from you, or I'd love to connect
Mm.
with you, and just to know that they're there. And at that point I hadn't had any signs, and there were other signs. I mean, you'll read in the book. I mean, my father was coming through in so many ways. I mean, and then
Yeah.
came
It's
through
almost like he was feeling bad or wanting to be with you because of how things were happening in the 3D.
absolutely, absolutely. And I got that message so clear. Psychic medium Marla Freeze too. I was interviewing her a month after dad died, and she's like, "Oh, your dad's here." And at minute 26, you literally see this orb of light go across the screen, and not in a diagonal or straight up and down, but like this, curving,
Moving.
yeah, moving. And she starts laughing. She's like, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "I couldn't miss it," and so it's right there on the video, which is so cool. But
That is
any
amazing.
yeah. So anyway, I hadn't this has been a while after Dad had passed, and I hadn't heard anything or felt anything for a while. So I was going through, a breakup and a hard time. And I took out my headphones after I heard Suzanne say that, like, if you need them, just reach out. And I just said, Dad, I just need to know that you are here. Like, I really do believe that you've been here, and that, and I feel so connected to you. And it's like, he's become like this, I don't want to say guardian angel, but just like this beautiful, loving presence in my life.
Yeah.
And so,
He could
I,
finally be that for you.
yeah, and just
Cool.
pure and just
Yeah.
pure. So I go back home and I'm making dinner, and I go to sit down with my dog on the couch, and I was actually eating in front of a movie, and all of a sudden I hear something, and I'm listening and I'm listening, and I was like, oh my God, the dishwasher was back on.
Oh, that's a sign.
No, and there were like three dishes in there. Like, there's no way that I had
You
programmed it. I never programmed my
right started
dishwasher
it.
anyway, but I hadn't even touched it probably in
Yeah.
days. And it was just like, thank you, Dad. I know you're here. And yeah, so that's just been incredible for me.
Yeah. And maybe healing
I,
also.
yeah. I mean, it's been incredibly beautiful. And then to be able to share it with my brother. I don't want to give away all the stories of Dad,
Of
but
course
but you
not.
know,
Don't give
but
away all the juicy
no,
stories.
but he keeps appearing, and he's really made it known that he's here. And that's the beautiful thing with, people in this book, and sharing their beautiful stories. It is just incredible, and we can find that we all do share these experiences, and if we're open to them, and we don't say, oh my gosh, yeah, like you said earlier, like, oh, this means I'm crazy, or this means,
Mhm.
somehow there's something wrong with me. No, it means
Yeah.
actually there's something very, very right. And we're beginning to really lift that veil and know that we can actually move from fear into love. And this
Mhm.
moment is such a beautiful moment. And that's where we can access these experiences. I always say the point of power is in the present moment. And
Mm.
when we bring ourselves here, we regulate our nervous system, we drop into our heart, and that's where we can be resourced to deal with whatever's going on in our outer circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to the electronics and getting messages, I'm going to tie into
Yeah,
that
sure.
because I've seen that a few times, but I really don't know what to say or, how to connect. And my daughter too, in her room, we notice when we turn off the light, then it'll flash like very obviously. And we haven't always had that. So we're just like, hi, we know you're here.
Yeah.
But I haven't gone deeper than that. Is there anything else you can suggest in connecting or making sure that we are getting the proper messages?
One of the things I talk about in the book, and at the end of every chapter, and I'll hold up the book for people to see.
Yes, a beautiful
So
Stephen James
thank
cover.
you. Thank you. So at the end of every chapter, there are exercises to help
Mm-hmm.
you go deeper, and to help you really come to peace with this whole full life experience, the joy, the sorrow, how we can hold our full experience. And also, when we want to connect deeper to those energies of our loved ones, I think one of the wonderful things we can do is find a quiet space. I always love to light a candle, and
Oh.
you can say some prayers and just really invite that energy in. And you can, just like Neil Donald Walsh did in Conversations to God, grab a notebook and
Mhm.
just put out that question. Just hold a question in your heart and hold it up, and then just let come through what comes through.
Mhm.
Just write what you receive. And I think that you can just allow that to flow without being in your mind. It's, you're not making something happen, you're inviting it. And not everybody, does automatic writing. Not everybody does it that way. The other thing you can do is just bring your hand to your heart and just be in your heart, sending that loved one pure love,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just notice what you receive in return. And again, you can ask, you can say, I want to know that you're here. That would be beautiful. I would love that comfort to know you're
Yeah.
you're right here. And you can say, like you said, like when your light flickers and you know, if there's a message for me, I'm here to receive it. And
Yeah.
just holding
Yeah.
space for that to come in, because we are so distracted in our lives and we're so busy that if we don't pause, we're not going to receive in the same way. And so that
Mhm.
would be my invitation for people, is to just really pause and have those beautiful moments where you can just have the stillness, where those still small voices, our inner GPS, our higher powers, and honestly, I think, those guardian spirits and those loving energies can really come through to us.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm going to tell that to my daughter too. And maybe we can do it
Yay.
together, like, okay, let's do this now. Let's sit quiet and see if we have any messages, and so that I can encourage her to not be afraid. I mean, she's naturally not afraid. I don't I don't think she's quite as exceptional and as enlightened as Acacia, but I think she's really open to it, because when she was little, she would try to communicate telepathically with me, and I was not always getting the message, so it did cause a little bit of stress between us because she assumed that I was hearing her, even though she didn't say anything physically.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so anyways, well, how does it help us when we know that death isn't the end of our soul's experience?
I think it helps us to drop in and really get, number one, that the package that we're in isn't the full deal. We can move into deeper love and acceptance of ourselves, really being in touch with that divine spark within us, because that's the piece that continues. It's the part that's never born, it never dies. Quantum physics proves this. It's the energy within us that it just changes shape. It transmutes and transforms. And so I think that's what I'm talking about, where it's like we get to let a lot of this fear, a lot of this conditioning, a lot of the desperateness and clinging, and like, I've got to figure all of life out. And this is my only chance to do this. And it doesn't mean you become lazy and you become, like this doormat to your life. It's actually quite the opposite, that you
Mhm.
become so much more ignited internally when you let some of that archaic narrative go. And when you let the fear narrative go, it doesn't mean you put your head in the sand and put on rose colored glasses. Because as you know, Carissa, I've also had incredible pain in my life. It's about embracing the full journey. It's not about, again, just everything's happy and joyful. I mean, I think I've got a very high baseline of joy and happiness in my life, and yet I allow myself, when the sorrow comes, to be in the depth of that experience as well. So it's welcoming it all. I think
Mhm.
that's it. And knowing that whatever circumstance or situation is happening, even if that spark in us feels that it's been covered up, we can do the work to excavate that, because it's always shining bright within us. And
Mm,
so to me, that's the most noble journey.
mm. And that feels like you are activating the divine feminine when you are allowing, when you're receiving, when you're connecting with whatever emotions arise. So it's so beautiful to hear you say that. And it's been such a pleasure connecting with you, Stephanie, and learning about your new book, Your Big Fat Juicy Life. I'll put your website and how to buy your book in the show notes. So thanks for joining me today, Stephanie.
Oh, thank you, Carissa. Such a pleasure to be with you. Such a joy.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to ZenSuccessShow.com to help you on your Zen success journey. And join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.
With the state of today's economy, it is more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made of the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back into your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.